5, 4, 3. I can't count. 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2. Hi, and welcome back to Midwest Running. Today we're bringing you a shoe review regarding the Hyperion Elite 5 from Brooks. Things to know about this shoe: one, I purchased it with my own money from my local running store. Brooks or anybody else has not seen this review and has no influence over the things I'm about to say. So really, with that in mind, let's kind of just chat about some of the basic specifics about the shoe here. So it comes to us at a cost of $275. Weight for my US men's size 11 is 221 grams or 7.79 ounces. Stack height is 40 in the rear with an 8mm drop, so giving us a 32mm forefoot here. Upper is made of a TPU design. The midsole is their DNA Gold, which is a PEBA foam. It does have a carbon fiber Speedvault Plus plate in there. And then the outsole is their Speed Tack compound from Brooks. Just an interesting thing to note, the plate in this shoe is designed by like an additive process, which then gives it more of a bespoke nature for the individual size, as opposed to trying to fit different things just from one solid mold. A little bit about this shoe in particular here. So as it says, US men's size 11, which for me, I typically wear 10.5 or 11 depending on the brand. So it is a little bit on the smaller side, which one would expect from being a race fit. That being said, at the 11 for me, because I do fall between, as I said, it is a bit snug, but as I said, it's kind of that race fit. It really just grips around your foot like a very nice glove. Very soft, like that. The mids or the sock liner in here, and then with the foam here, it actually has a very nice kind of softness right on the initial step in. You don't really feel the plate too much through there. It just has a very comfortable overall feeling to it. The tongue itself, very, very minimal padding. It does have kind of like a central area of it that you can see maybe through here a little. Again, not much. It's only a few millimeters thick in there. That just kind of helps keep it from getting too much lace bite. The tongue itself also is gusseted, but only on the medial side, and to save some material and weight, they did not use a gusset on the lateral side. So with that in mind, one of the things I note when I first put it on is that the like the most forward point of it might get folded a little bit, so just be sure to kind of move the tongue back and forth a little bit, and if you need to, just kind of run your finger along the inside of it before you actually cinch the laces down, because I didn't the first time, and I definitely did feel a little bit of discomfort, but that went away once I realized what was happening. Outside the box, really just felt fantastic, as you would expect a PEBA race shoe would. It did get a little bit better once I did have a couple little bits of mileage in it. Nothing too crazy. I would say it felt fantastic after less than a mile. I think it was just enough to kind of settle everything in, kind of get my feet and legs under it a little bit more. But when I have used it so far, I've used everything from on the track. I did a 800 workout with it. I did, even just for fun, I did some repeat 100s in there just to really see what I had in me, more so than anything else. I've done some post-run strides. I switched over from like a chunkier shoe I've been testing to this just to do some strides, just to get my legs really moving hard. I've raced a 5K in them, and I've done a long run and then kind of like a medium distance daily run with it. What I can say specifically is that with all of these different runs, I've run in paces from absolute all out, the absolute most I can give, to in even the high 11-minute range, doing a little bit of like a recovery pace effort. During all of that, I think it felt very good. At recovery paces, it was very comfortable, even like kind of landing further back on the heel. Once I started getting up closer to the toes, it really kind of starts to feel a little bit thinner, even than the 32 that's on the measurements here. And so that firmness, I think, really gives you a really good response when you really do want to push it fast. I do think it has a sweet spot more in that kind of half marathon-ish level. at least for myself. And one of the things I noticed is when you do start to push the pace into that marathon zone a little bit faster, one of the things I do note is that the way that the shoe itself compresses, you do feel a little bit more of a snap from the plate. Just kind of gives you that extra little bit of propulsion forward. It feels a little bit decoupled. Not the smoothest feeling, but it's not uncomfortable. It's not unnatural feeling. You just get this little kind of pop in the kind of in your underfoot there. As I said, I feel the forefoot is a little bit on the firmer side, which isn't a bad thing, especially for this kind of shoe. The couple interesting design bits about it. One, just kind of starting at the top here, the upper is extraordinarily breathable. I hesitate to find another shoe that has anywhere near the amount of kind of this open mesh to it. As you can see, it's really very, very open, which has been a blessing in the current temperatures that we've been having in our area here, which is actually why I ended up using it for a couple runs that I otherwise wouldn't have. I'm glad I've done that though, because I think the durability is going to be surprisingly decent, but a little more on that later. The laces themselves do have a nice kind of sawtooth pattern to them, as you might be able to see here, which obviously just adds to the just how locked down it feels. It has a decent amount of padding around the heel here, as well as small, very thin kind of pull tab, stretchy kind of pull tab here. Just gives you a little bit of protection there from the sharper materials there on the of the TPU upper. Very minimal heel counter, as you can see, but overall no heel slip, even when I'm trying to push it as fast as possible. Really, I did not feel any issues there. Sock liner is bonded in there. It's rather thin. It's nothing to write home about, to be honest. Midsole, I think, is where we should be talking a lot, though. So this is the DNA Gold, which was debuted in the Hyperion Elite 4 PB, which was kind of that interim model they made for their pros to run in, then just did a quick limited release kind of early parts of this year just to get people into a Hyperion Elite before they put this guy out. In this shoe specifically, I did not try the 4 PB, so I can't speak to it. I will say it has just a very nice, soft, responsive feeling. It's not a firm shoe by any means. Reminds me a lot underfoot of the Vaporfly 3, actually, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more. Things I will note is, obviously, you can't talk about the shoe without talking about the kind of this bubbly area, kind of under the arch of the foot, kind of into the mid, kind of getting toward the back of the foot. So that exists on either side of the speed vault plate. And what I think it does two things. One, it allows Brooks to take some material out of the midsole to help save weight and maybe give the foam a little bit extra controlled areas for it to expand. That being said, it also gives the outsole area and just kind of this extension of the midsole down here a little bit more of an area that I can work with instead of trying to make a large cutout into here and otherwise compromising people's natural foot strike and anatomy. I think that they did a good job here of taking this material away here. It also does, I think, add to just some of the snappy feel that you get underfoot, because it puts that allows for a little bit extra flex right in that arch area of the plate. So with that in mind, I think that's what gives me that real snappy compression response that you get when you are starting to push the paces in it. Then moving to the outsole itself, they're calling it Speed Tack. I'm not entirely sure. I think it is a rubber, but it actually could be like a CPU kind of thing, like what Adidas is using on the Pro 4, for example, which is a very, very lightweight but very durable material. So far, with just shy of 20 miles on these right now, I feel that these have been holding up just fine. I would expect it's going to give you, probably 150 miles easily, which for a race shoe, that's fantastic. Probably even a little bit more once you kind of retire it from racing duty. Now, the things I would say about it are, again, some of the things you would expect about it being a racing shoe, right? It's not going to be very, very stable. It is not going to be something for somebody with weak like ankles and everything really to enjoy. If you do a lot of pronation, this is not going to be really the shoe for you. But where I do find it is kind of nice is that it does give you a decent amount of support kind of in the heel, kind of toward the back, then rolls you forward. As you can see, it has a bit of an earlier rocker compared to some other racing shoes out there. And the other thing I will just comment on is just how thin the forefoot actually kind of gets here toward here, which is why I feel that it has a bit of that more racy, snappy kind of characteristic when you are picking up the paces, when you are pushing more into that forefoot space. But for kind of your average runner, which, you know, depending on who you listen to, most runners are heel strikers. I'm a little bit more toward the midfoot. It's very comfortable. You can get a lot of benefit out of just the way the shoe is designed, I think. Things I really like about it is I've actually had the pleasure of running on drier surfaces and wetter surfaces with it. The outsole is very grippy. I think it's going to give you a lot of confidence on race day, especially through some water stations and everything. You're not going to feel like you're slipping, sliding everywhere. The breathability, frankly, is about as good as it's going to get unless you're running in like a sandal. And even then, like, this just has a lot of good support around it. The material itself holds up quite well, seemingly. Really, I think that in general, it's going to be a great shoe for racing. Obviously, the at speed, you get like a lot of that plate feeling like I've kind of mentioned a couple times. Really, when you're compressing it down, you'll feel that pop kind of hit you. If you don't like that mechanical feeling, this would not be a great shoe for you to be running in. But if you really just kind of stick with it, if it's something that is a newer experience to you in general, stick with it a little bit. And I think that you may just grow to kind of completely forget about it even existing, which is what I've noticed with it. Then obviously, I think one of the biggest negatives about it is I think this design. It's kind of polarizing when you let's be honest. These kind of cutouts. I've heard some very graphic terminology for what they're doing here. Personally, I think that the idea is there, the intent is there. I see what they're going for with it. And then thinking about it like in the grand scheme of things, where does this fall into other shoes that you might know? Really, I think in the world of racing shoes these days and these super shoes, I really think of it very similar to the Nike the Nike Vaporfly 3, not the Alphafly. Both of them have a very similar kind of lower plate kind of feeling to them. Both of them have just this very lightweight, breathable mesh upper. Both have a little bit more of that kind of mechanically kind of feeling to it, although I think the Vaporfly is a little smoother feeling with it. But one of the things that I will say is, to that end, both are shoes that I would question whether I want to run a full marathon in. Half marathon, no question. I would have no problem wearing this. But for a full distance, I would have, I think, maybe a little bit of discomfort at the end of the day. I'm planning on wearing them for a couple of my longer runs in this marathon build and see if maybe I'm proven wrong. But right now, I would probably say that this is going to be more of like a middle distance racer for a lot of people. Realistically, when I think about the shoe as a big picture, $275 for a race day shoe these days is kind of on par with, that's your Alphafly. It's a little bit cheaper than some of the like the Diadora, Gara Carbon. It's right in line with the newest Asics Metaspeed, whatever it's called, blanking on it, Metaspeed Ray. It's more expensive than the Metaspeed Sky or Edge. I think it just falls right in with what we're seeing super shoes at right now. Whether or not some of this is based on current economic conditions versus just every brand is kind of pushing that price up just a little bit because they have the market. Hard to say, but I don't think it's bad value proposition when you're looking at what you're getting. But again, it is because it is a race day shoe at the end of the day. I'm not expecting this to last, 500, 600, 700 miles by any means. I'm looking at, how many races can I get out of it? If I'm doing a half marathon distance in it, I realistically suspect that I'll probably be able to get a good 4 or 5 races out of it comfortably before I retire to more tempo duty. But all things considered, I think Brooks actually is on the right track with this, which is hard for me to say. I have not really had some great Brooks experiences in recent years, although the Hyperion Max 3 I reviewed and the Max 2 from last year, both are shoes that I think have started to change my mind about them as a brand. I'm really liking this direction they're heading. I think if they can just work out a little bit of the bugs with this shoe, specifically kind of how mechanical it feels, maybe firm, or maybe kind of soften up the forefoot feeling a little bit and give it a little bit more bounce and spring for more forefoot runners, I think that this shoe really could be an absolute winner. And I think the Elite 6, when it comes out next year, I think is going to be right on the money with all of those things, I think. So all this being said, if you've run in this shoe, I'd love to hear your comments. Please consider liking, subscribing to our content if you like what we're doing here. Drop a comment down below. Just let me know where you're coming from, what you've run in, what your thoughts are, if you have any questions about it. Please stay safe on your runs. Again, it is summertime. It's been hot. It looks like in the Chicago area here, we're going to start getting some cooler weather soon. I'm really hoping, because this last month has just been absolutely brutal and has made me start questioning whether or not I even want to keep running for a little while, I think. It's just been tough. So hopefully things are going well by you. If you're watching this review, again, let me know what your thoughts are about the shoe if you've run in it. Take care.